Everybody, and welcome back to the Bay Bolts channel. My name is Jake Ricker. As always, I am here with my good friend Michael Wax. Michael, first and foremost, how you doing today, my friend?
I am doing well. We got some really interesting information in terms of the minor leagues that we need to talk about for the Tampa Bay Lightning and for the Florida Panthers.
Absolutely. So, for those of you that may have not have heard yet, or have already heard and maybe a little bit confused, the Florida Panthers will be teaming up with the Tampa Bay Lightning and the Syracuse Crunch, where the all of the Florida's player prospects will be playing within the Syracuse Crunch organization. So now this means a couple of things. I've seen some people talking about it and seen some misconceptions, and we're going to break that all down for you. But first, let's talk about why this is happening. Now, there have been a the AHL is having a season. They've officially set up a shortened season, just like the NHL has, and are a go. However, there have been three different teams that have opted out of the season. One of those teams was the Florida Panthers affiliate. So, what the Florida Panthers have done is they've teamed up with the Lightning so that their prospects just don't get any playing time and kind of get thrown out in the cold. They're going to be playing with the Syracuse Crunch. So that's why that this is happening, and that's how this is all going to work out.
Yeah, so the Charlotte Checkers decided that they didn't want to play this year. They were one of three teams that decided they didn't want to risk it, I guess. This is a big money-making opportunity this season, especially with news of a vaccine really rolling out and a lot of NHL teams and AHL teams saying that they're going to have fans. These teams decided not to risk it. And thus, the Florida Panthers say, well, what do we do with our prospects? And it's not so much a regional thing between the AHL affiliates. It's more a regional thing of the NHL affiliates. Because you look at the Lightning who play in Tampa and you look at the Panthers who play in Sunrise and you're like, oh, they're very close. Well, the AHL affiliates, the Syracuse Crunch play in Syracuse, New York. The Charlotte Checkers play in Charlotte, North Carolina. Those places are not close at all. But I do think it's very interesting that, if they needed to travel back to get called up, let's say for taxi squad or an actual game, those distances are actually relatively close to each other. So I think that's why this decision was made to have Tampa and Florida combined and have all of those players go to Syracuse.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Now let's talk about getting called up and going to taxi squads or possibly playing in the NHL because I've seen some people wondering how this works since they're both now playing on the Syracuse Crunch. Some people were wondering, well, can the Florida Panthers then call up some of our prospects? No, don't worry. That's not how this works. The Florida Panthers will still only have access to their respective prospects, just as the Lightning will only have the rights to their respective prospects as well. So no team will be able to benefit from this at all. The major difference or the major change that's going to happen with this is that some of our players may not get as much playing time as they normally would because some of those spots will be used for the Florida Panthers prospects. So that's where this becomes kind of interesting. Michael, I'm going to let you talk about this, but you mentioned that the Lightning may try to do something a little different with some of their prospects and involved with the taxi squad because they're going to want to try and get them as much playtime as possible.
Yeah, and so if you look at like the really high-end prospects in the Lightning, your Cal Foote, your Alex Barré-Boulet, Alexander Volkov is another one that springs to mind. Taylor Radish, maybe Sean Day if he decides to come to camp if he's healthy and he earns his way on to the team. Those players are probably going to be on the taxi squad before they be sent to the minors. And the reason that I think that is because of this combination of the Florida Panthers and Tampa Bay Lightning prospects. That's going to take up a lot of time for the younger prospects that really want to make a name for themselves. One person that I think that might be hindered by this is Jimmy Huntington. Huntington was an ECHL guy for the majority of last season, one of the top-rated scorers in the QMJHL when the Lightning signed him. Didn't really get a lot of playing time. They thought this was going to be that season where he jumped into the top nine, maybe even the top six. That looks like it's going to be in question now because if you really look at it, like he is not going to get a lot of playing time on the Crunch with a lot of maybe the higher end prospects of the Panthers or the older veteran type players on the Panthers that aren't, NHL caliber, but are still good AHL players. So, someone like Huntington, someone like, if Jack Finley decides to make it to the Syracuse Crunch instead of going to the independent leagues, or, Boris Kachuk, he's sort of on the fence right now in terms of, is he an AHL player? Is he an NHL player? Those are the types of players that I am very worried about in terms of playing time, which is why I think that the taxi squad is going to be filled maybe with a couple of veterans, but mostly younger uh, players not a lot of miles on them, that can get into more games like back to backs, and giving them more opportunities if somebody's out of the lineup with injury.
Right. And I think also a couple things to take away from that as well is that obviously this is not permanent. So this is only going to happen right now for this season. Who knows what happens next couple of years. I would imagine we're back to closer to normal by next season, but this is only temporary. And the Florida Panthers are going to be feeling the same effects that some of the Lightning players are having. So some of their prospects that they really like to get some ice time might also have this same problem as you just mentioned with some of our guys. So one team is not benefiting from the other here in this situation. So the other thing I think we need to talk about too is that this can actually, you might be wondering, well, if the Lightning are just going to lose possible playing time for some of their players, why would they do something like this? Well, I think it's a nice thing to do to help out a fellow Florida team as well. And also, Michael, you kind of talked about this before we started recording. This is a good opportunity for the Syracuse Crunch because with a lot of new prospects, theoretically, they should have a very good team on paper now and gives them the best opportunity to win their league, which always involves, like the Lightning winning the Stanley Cup, a lot of championship merchandise and championship money. So this could be a very good thing for the Syracuse organization, which is always good for the Lightning moving forward.
Yeah, and let's be very clear. If it was just the Syracuse Crunch, they probably would not even make the playoff, because Syracuse had a lot of goalie struggles last year. Their defense took hits at times. Their forward group took hits at times. They really, really struggled on the penalty kill. Most of their struggles came from within the net, and they tried to solidify that with Chris Gibson this year in the minors. But you look at some of the prospects that they're going to get. One player that I think of is the Lightning organization is now going to get Owen Tippett in the minors. Owen Tippett is a former top 10 pick. He's a very, very talented player. That is going to bolster their forward group immensely. And I think that that is one of the main reasons, strategic reasons, that the Lightning decided to pair themselves with the Panthers, and the Thunderbird and the Crunch decide to pair up with one another, or the Checkers and the Crunch, excuse me. All these AHL affiliates keep on switching every couple of years, but the Checkers and the Crunch are now one team. I think that's a really smart move from a money standpoint by the Lightning. They are going to lose some money by probably not having that many fans there. Again, they're located in New York, so it's kind of harder for them to get permission to allow fans into their stadium. But if they win the title, which, I'm not saying it's a guarantee now, but it's much more likely than it was if it's just the Crunch. They now have a lot more money to use. The owner, Howard Dolgen, now has more money to put into other things around either the community or the stadium or the team itself.
Exactly. And at a time like this where, we've seen a lot of leagues start to move to ads, money is obviously very important, and any kind of extra revenue you can get is very beneficial. So just to recap everything for you, I know this was kind of a lot. It's kind of confusing. I understand. This is happening again because the Florida Panthers affiliate is opting out of the AHL season. And then the way this is going to work is that neither team will have access to the other team's prospects. They're just going to be playing as one team. The biggest effect that you'll see is that some Lightning and some Panther prospects will not get playtime they would have gotten if we had still both affiliate teams. However, this can be a big benefit to the Syracuse Crunch, as we just talked about, as if they're potentially able to even just make the playoffs or possibly win a championship, that organization as a whole can make a lot more money, which is very important for teams in a time like this, especially affiliate teams. So that's a quick little breakdown. Michael, anything else to add before we wrap this up?
No, I'm really interested to see how this works out. We've seen this before, whether it was Vegas taking a couple of years to get their own AHL team, so they borrowed an AHL team from one of the other teams in the NHL. I can't quite remember who that was. Think it was the Blackhawks, but again, not quite sure. And then, Toronto had to use an ECHL team from around the league. This is going to be really interesting. And it's also happening in 2 other locations this year. 3 teams opted out, 3 teams need affiliate teams. So I think it's going to be a very fascinating AHL storyline.
Absolutely. So that's going to do it for us, guys, today. Hope you guys did enjoy this video. If you did, please be sure to leave a like down below. Make sure you subscribe to the channel and ring that bell so you don't miss out on more content like this and a lot of fun things coming your way very soon. So with that said, though, guys, hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. And remember, your Tampa Bay Lightning are just about to be your defending Stanley Cup champions.
Go Bolts.